Most people think foreign influence looks dramatic. Secret meetings, illegal payments, backroom deals caught on tape. This story does not look like that at all. It starts quietly, with a name that almost never makes headlines. Not Trump, not Putin, not Mueller, a name that rarely trends, yet sits at the intersection of Russian wealth and American political power. Leonard Blavatnik, a billionaire whose influence did not arrive through scandal, but through something far more effective. A perfectly legal donation. $1 million that slipped into Washington at the exact moment power was changing hands. January 2017. Washington, D.C. is in full celebration mode. Inauguration balls, flashing cameras, packed ceremonies, and the familiar language of democracy on display. But behind the glamour, something else is happening. Money is moving. Not casually. Not randomly. Money tied to Russian energy fortunes is quietly entering the political bloodstream of a brand new administration. At the center of it all is a single check. $1 million. Written by Access Industries, owned by Leonard Blavatnik, and given to Donald Trump's presidential inaugural committee. On the surface, this looks routine. Wealthy donors have funded inaugurations for decades. But this donation was not routine. Because to understand why it mattered, who it benefited, and what it unlocked, you have to go back long before Trump, long before Washington, and straight into the chaos of post-Soviet Russia. Leonard Blavatnik was born in Odessa, Ukraine in 1957. He studied at Moscow State University before immigrating to the United States during the Cold War. He later became a naturalized American citizen and earned an MBA from Harvard Business School. From the outside, his story looked like a perfect version of the American dream. Education, immigration, success. But when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Blavatnik saw an opening most people could not even imagine. Russia was breaking apart. State-owned industries were being sold off at lightning speed. Oil fields, gas companies, aluminum plants, mineral operations that once belonged to the Soviet government were suddenly up for grabs. It became one of the largest transfers of wealth in modern history. And the men who understood the system, who had the right connections, became billionaires almost overnight. Blavatnik partnered with Viktor Vekselberg and Oleg Deripaska, helping to build massive energy and industrial empires. One of them was Rusal, which would go on to become one of the largest aluminum producers in the world. In Russia, there is an unwritten rule that everyone understands. You do not become a billionaire without Vladimir Putin's approval. The oligarchs and the Kremlin operate together. The oligarchs accumulate wealth. The state gains loyalty, leverage, and control. That is how the system functions. Blavatnik, however, played a longer game. He did not keep his wealth trapped in Russia. He diversified aggressively across the West. He bought Warner Music Group for more than $3 billion. He invested in chemicals, real estate, and entertainment. He donated tens of millions to universities and cultural institutions. Oxford named the Blavatnik School of Government after him. Tate Modern and the Victoria and Albert Museum accepted his donations. His public image shifted. He was no longer seen as a Russian-linked businessman, but as a Western philanthropist and patron of education and the arts. But one connection never disappeared. Viktor Vekselberg. Vekselberg was not just a former partner. He was a longtime associate, and later became a sanctioned Russian oligarch. The United States Treasury identified him as part of Vladimir Putin's inner circle. When Treasury imposed sanctions, they were explicit. Oligarchs like Vekselberg profit from Russia's corrupt system and help advance the Kremlin's interests abroad. And Blavatnik had worked with this man for decades. Fast forward to the 2016 election cycle. For years, Blavatnik's political donations had been modest and bipartisan. He spread his money across Democrats and Republicans, rarely drawing attention. Then suddenly, everything changed. Blavatnik became one of the largest donors to Republican causes in the country, contributing more than $7 million. He backed Marco Rubio, Scott Walker, Lindsey Graham, John McCain, the Republican National Committee. Interestingly, he initially funded efforts opposing Donald Trump during the primary, but Trump won the nomination. Then Trump won the presidency. And Blavatnik adjusted. In December 2016, Access Industries wrote that $1 million check to Trump's inaugural committee. That money bought more than a seat at a ceremony. It bought access, private dinners, proximity to power at the exact moment a new administration was being assembled and relationships were being cemented. And here is the part most people missed. Viktor Vekselberg attended Donald Trump's inauguration. A sanctioned Russian oligarch who could not legally donate to American political campaigns was present at inauguration events reportedly funded by Blavatnik's donation. A foreign oligarch gaining access through an American citizen. It did not stop there. Vekselberg's cousin, Andrew Intrater, runs Columbus Nova, the American investment arm of Vekselberg's business empire. Intrater donated $250,000 to the inauguration. Then, just 11 days before Trump was sworn in, Intrader arranged a meeting between Vekselberg and Michael Cohen at Trump Tower in New York. After the inauguration, Columbus Nova began paying Cohen $500,000 over 8 months. The payments went to Essential Consultants LLC, the same shell company Cohen used to pay Stormy Daniels. Columbus Nova claimed the money was for consulting services. The timing immediately raised red flags. Special counsel Robert Mueller took notice. His team questioned Vekselberg at a U.S. airport, searched his electronic devices, and subpoenaed the inaugural committee. Because while Blavatnik's donation was legal on paper, the question was whether it had indirectly benefited foreign nationals who were prohibited from participating in American political financing. Then came the staffing decisions. 2 former lobbyists for Access Industries landed senior roles in the Trump administration. One became Assistant Attorney General for the Antitrust Division. Another became Deputy Secretary of the Interior. Both had previously represented Blavatnik's company. During the vetting process, lobbying records were quietly amended to distance one of these officials from Access Industries. The changes happened just as Blavatnik's donation came under public scrutiny. The timing raised serious questions. Why the sudden revisions? Why the need for separation at that precise moment? This was not an isolated case. Other Russian-connected donors followed similar patterns. Simon Kukes, a Russian-born American oil executive, began donating hundreds of thousands of dollars to Trump-affiliated groups after years of minimal political involvement. Emails later revealed Kukes boasting to Russian officials about his involvement in Trump's campaign and requesting meetings with high-ranking Russian figures. Kukes, like Blavatnik and Intrader, had close ties to Viktor Vekselberg. Different names, same network, same timing. Here is the most unsettling part of this entire story. Leonard Blavatnik broke no laws. He is an American citizen. His donations were disclosed. The money moved through legal channels. And that is exactly what made this so effective. Experts who study Russian influence have repeatedly stated that oligarchs do not operate independently. They exist within systems where business and state power are inseparable. Influence does not need to be illegal to succeed. It only needs to exploit the gray areas. The fallout eventually came, but it came late. Professors resigned in protest. Think tanks returned donations. MIT severed ties with sanctioned oligarchs. But by the time the public fully understood what had happened, the damage was already done. The access had been granted. The relationships had been formed. The administration was already in power. The $1 million had accomplished its purpose. This is why the story still matters. It was not a one-time scandal. It was a template, a demonstration of how foreign-connected wealth enters Western politics through legality, philanthropy, and proximity. The system that allowed it has not fundamentally changed. The loopholes remain. The incentives remain. So when people ask whether foreign influence is a thing of the past, remember this story. Remember how quietly it unfolded. Remember how legal it was. And remember that influence does not always announce itself. Sometimes it arrives as a perfectly written check, delivered at the perfect moment, with no laws broken and no alarms triggered. If this deep dive helped you understand not just what happened, but how power actually works, hit the like button and subscribe. And in the comments, tell me what you think. Are current campaign finance laws strong enough to protect democracy? Or is legality simply the last hiding place of corruption? I will see you in the next one.